The planet Zithra was unlike anything humans had ever seen. Its skies glowed with shifting colors, from deep violet to pale turquoise, and its vast cities sparkled like crystals in the sunlight. Towering spires of polished crystal reflected the alien sun in patterns that changed with the day. Flying creatures with translucent wings darted between the buildings, their movements swift and elegant. Every corner of Zithra was alive, not only with its strange flora and fauna but also with the hum of advanced technology that seemed centuries beyond human understanding. In the heart of the capital city stood the Royal Palace, a massive structure, carved entirely from shimmering blue crystal. Its walls glimmered like ice under the sun, and its gates were guarded by towering statues of ancient heroes. The palace was home to Zithra's rulers, and most importantly, to Princess Livra. Princess Livra was unlike any other alien royal. Her skin had a greenish hue, dotted with subtle ridges that shimmered under light. She had 3 eyes on each side of her head, each a different shade, and her limbs were slightly uneven, giving her a unique appearance that most of her people found unusual. Many called her ugly, though she did not mind the label. She had grown up strong, clever, and fiercely independent. Livra had rejected countless suitors over the years. Alien males from powerful families had traveled from far corners of the galaxy to win her favor, bringing gifts of rare gems, advanced technology, and promises of alliances. But none had impressed her. She found most of them arrogant, lazy, or unimaginative. She was not interested in wealth or titles. She valued courage, intelligence, and originality, qualities rare in her own species. Despite her appearance, or perhaps because of it, Livra had grown confident in her mind and abilities. She spent her days learning about politics, strategy, and science, often surprising her advisors with ideas that no other alien had ever thought of. Yet behind her pride, there was a quiet loneliness. She longed to meet someone who could challenge her mind, not just bow to her status. One morning, as the alien sun rose over the crystalline city, a strange vessel landed in the palace courtyard. Its design was unlike any Zithran craft, sleek, small, and made of metal that glimmered differently from the palace crystals. Guards approached cautiously, their weapons ready, but the vessel's hatch opened, and a human stepped out. The human was of average height, with short brown hair and curious blue eyes. He wore a simple flight suit, slightly worn from space travel. Unlike the alien males who came to impress the princess, he carried no gifts, no promises of alliances. He carried only tools, notebooks, and a calm confidence that was hard to ignore. The court fell silent. Aliens whispered among themselves. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy, and most Zithrans considered them weak. The human walked forward without hesitation, his gaze steady as he looked up at the palace spires. Princess Livra observed him from a high balcony. Her 3 eyes narrowed in curiosity. Most visitors trembled in her presence, but this human did not. There was something different about him, something that made her want to understand who he was. "Who is this?" Livra asked her chief advisor. "He is a human," the advisor replied cautiously. "He calls himself Jaren. He claims to be an engineer and says he wishes to study our technology and offer help." Livra's lips curved slightly. "Help?" she said. "Our kingdom has never needed human help. Why should we allow him inside?" "Perhaps," the advisor suggested carefully, "he has knowledge we do not possess. Humans are unpredictable, but sometimes that unpredictability brings insight." Livra considered this. She liked unpredictability. It challenged her, made her think, and perhaps this human could do what no alien male ever could. Capture her attention with his mind instead of his wealth. Very well, she decided. Let him enter. But he will answer to me directly. I wish to see if his mind is worthy of Zithra's scrutiny. Jaren was escorted into the palace. He moved with quiet confidence, taking in the shimmering halls and observing the complex devices that lined the walls. He examined them with interest, occasionally jotting down notes in a small notebook. He did not fawn over the beauty of the palace or bow to anyone. He simply observed, thought, and recorded. Livra watched from a distance, intrigued. She had never met a visitor who ignored courtly decorum yet carried himself with respect. There was something about the human that felt honest, unpretentious, and intelligent. Over the next few days, Jaren toured the palace and its technology. He asked questions no Zetheran had thought to ask, pointing out problems in the energy grids, the palace defenses, and even minor engineering details that were often overlooked. His ideas were simple but effective, using logic and creativity, rather than brute force or expensive materials. The princess could not help but be impressed. She had never seen an outsider, especially a human, analyze her kingdom so thoroughly. Most alien males would have relied on advisors, flattery, or gifts. Jaren relied only on his mind and his hands. One afternoon, while walking through the palace gardens, Jaren noticed a broken energy conduit powering the garden's light system. The conduit had been malfunctioning for months, and no Zetheran engineer had found a solution. "I think I can fix this," Jaren said calmly, kneeling beside the conduit and examining it. The garden attendants and guards watched nervously. "It is dangerous," one whispered. "No one has dared touch it." "I've handled worse," Jaren replied. His voice carried no arrogance, only quiet confidence. Livra approached, observing him closely. "Do you truly believe you can fix it?" she asked. "I do," Jaren said simply. Hours passed. Jaren worked tirelessly, using his tools and understanding of human engineering principles. Livra watched, fascinated as the conduit began to hum steadily, lights flickering on across the garden. By evening, the system was fully operational, brighter and more stable than it had ever been. The palace erupted in whispers. The human succeeded. He fixed what no alien could. Livra's pride swelled, not because of the human, but because she recognized that she had underestimated him. His success challenged her expectations and sparked a curiosity she had not felt in years. For the first time, she wondered what it would be like to speak with someone who did not fear her, who did not seek her favor through wealth or titles, and who solved problems through skill and intellect alone. Jaren looked up at her and smiled. "Sometimes it just takes a fresh perspective," he said. Livra felt a strange warmth at his words. She had spent years rejecting alien males because they offered nothing beyond status or gifts. But this human, this strange, unpredictable human, offered something far more valuable: thought, courage, and ingenuity. As the sun set over Zithera, casting shimmering colors across the palace walls, Livra realized something she had never admitted before. She was intrigued. Not by his appearance, which was ordinary by her standards, but by the way he saw the world. The first part of their story had begun. The princess, who had rejected all suitors, was now quietly observing a human who had done what no other alien, male could: capture her interest, challenge her mind, and show her that strength and value came in forms she had never considered. And for Jaren, the human, the adventure had only just begun. He had no idea that in solving a simple engineering problem, he had set into motion a chain of events that would change the fate of Zithera and its princess forever. For Livra, the world was shifting in a way she could not yet understand. Pride, curiosity, and fascination swirled within her, preparing her for a journey where human ingenuity would meet alien expectation, and where she might finally discover that some forms of beauty, like courage and intelligence, could not be measured by appearance alone. The next morning, the crystal city of Zithera glimmered under a violet sun. The streets hummed with energy as citizens, tall, multicolored, and unlike any human being, went about their daily lives. In the palace, Princess Livra moved through the halls with her usual grace, her multiple eyes scanning every detail. But today her thoughts were not on politics or strategy alone. They were on the human, Jaren, who had fixed the palace garden conduit the day before. Her curiosity about him had grown overnight. No alien male had ever shown such practical skill, combined with calm confidence. He had entered her palace without fear, analyzed a complex system, and solved a problem that had puzzled her engineers for months. Livra felt a strange mix of admiration and intrigue. Jaren, meanwhile, was already at work in the palace engineering wing. Unlike other humans who might have been overwhelmed by the alien technology, he moved with purpose. He studied the crystal machinery, taking careful notes and asking questions in a clear, simple tone. His tools were basic by Zithran standards, yet he wielded them with precision, improvising solutions on the spot. Livra decided to observe him, walking silently along the corridor. She watched as he inspected a massive energy core that powered part of the palace. His hands moved swiftly, adjusting components and measuring energy flows. "What are you doing?" Livra asked as she approached. Jaren looked up, calm and focused. "This core is losing efficiency," he explained. "If left unchecked, it could cause system failures in other parts of the palace. I think I can improve the energy flow." Livra's 3 eyes studied him carefully. "Do you truly believe you can fix it?" "I do," Jaren replied without hesitation. "But I need access to the main control interface." The princess hesitated. No outsider had ever been allowed direct access to the palace's critical systems. It was risky, but she also felt an irresistible pull to see what he could do. "Very well," she said, her voice firm. "You may proceed. But know this. If you fail, the consequences will be severe." Jaren nodded, his calm demeanor unshaken. Understood. He connected his tools to the core, analyzing data faster than any alien engineer. He noticed patterns in the energy flow that the Zitharans had overlooked. With careful adjustments, he redirected the energy, improving efficiency and stabilizing the system. Livra watched in silent awe. When the core hummed steadily, brighter and more powerful than before, the other engineers gasped. The human had done what no alien had been able to do. "You are extraordinary," Livra admitted softly, a hint of wonder in her voice. "I have never seen anyone, alien or human, work like this." Jaren smiled faintly. "Sometimes the best solutions are the simplest. You just have to look at the problem from a different angle." Over the next few days, Jaren's influence grew. He examined palace defenses, suggesting small but effective improvements. He repaired a communication relay that had been malfunctioning for years and modified an energy shield to handle higher stress. His approach was always logical, efficient, and surprisingly creative. Livra found herself drawn to him. She began spending more time observing his work, asking questions, and even discussing ideas. Unlike the alien males who had tried to impress her with displays of wealth or strength, Jaren earned her respect through skill, thought, and honesty. One afternoon, a minor crisis erupted in the palace. A section of the outer energy shield flickered and weakened, threatening to leave the city exposed to the strong solar winds from Zithara's twin suns. Alarm sirens rang through the crystal halls. The court panicked. Advisors shouted conflicting instructions, and the alien engineers scrambled to respond. Livra's eyes narrowed. "Jaren," she called, her voice steady. "Can you handle this?" He glanced at the console, then at her. "I can. Step back and let me work." Within moments, Jaren assessed the problem. He quickly rerouted energy flows, adjusted shield frequencies, and stabilized the weakened section. Within minutes, the alarm ceased and the shield shone brighter than before. The court erupted in astonished whispers. The princess stepped forward, her multiple eyes shining with respect. "You saved the palace," she said, "and no alien male could have done it. How do you do these things?" Jaren shrugged. "I look for patterns, think logically, and act quickly. That's all." Livra felt something stir inside her, an emotion she had never allowed herself to feel for any suitor. Genuine admiration. She realized that his strength lay not in brute force or wealth, but in mind and action. He challenged her expectations in ways she had never experienced. Later that evening, Livra invited Jaren to a private audience. The palace had long corridors, lined with glowing crystals, and the soft hum of energy systems filled the air. "Tell me," Livra began, her voice quiet. "Why do you care about helping us? No one asked you to come here, no one promised you rewards." Jaren looked at her calmly. "I enjoy solving problems, and I see potential here. Potential that has been overlooked because people only look at tradition, not logic." I want to help, because it is possible, not because it will bring me glory. Livra's eyes widened slightly. His answer was honest, sincere, and rare. Most aliens acted out of duty, pride, or ambition. Jaren acted out of understanding and curiosity. You are different from any male I have ever met, she admitted. He smiled faintly. And you are different from any ruler I have ever met. You see value in intelligence and capability, not appearances or titles. That is rare too. The princess felt a strange warmth in her chest. For the first time in years, she felt that connection she had secretly longed for. Someone who could challenge her mind, respect her independence, and still teach her something new. In the following days, Jaren's presence became a constant source of fascination. Livra watched him as he worked, asking questions and offering suggestions. He never sought her favor, never tried to impress her, yet he had earned her respect more completely than any alien male ever had. One day, the palace council gathered to discuss a major issue. A new alien envoy had arrived from a neighboring star system seeking an alliance. The envoy was known for his arrogance and ambition, and the council feared he might exploit the princess's position. Livra, however, had a different idea. Let Jaren meet the envoy first, she said. The council was shocked. A human? How? Can he represent Zithera? One advisor asked. He is capable, Livra replied firmly. Watch and learn. Jaren entered the audience chamber, calm and confident. The alien envoy sneered at him, clearly expecting him to be intimidated. But Jaren did not flinch. He asked insightful questions, identified potential problems in the proposed alliance, and suggested solutions that impressed even the envoy. By the end of the meeting, the envoy nodded in respect. I have underestimated humans, he admitted. Your insights are valuable. Livra's eyes glimmered. She had seen it herself. Human ingenuity was unmatched. The human did not need charm, beauty, or status. He only needed intelligence, courage, and determination. That night, as the twin moons of Zithera rose over the crystal city, Livra reflected on the events of the past days. She realized that her pride and rejection of all other suitors were not about dislike or disdain. They were about waiting for someone worthy, someone extraordinary. And now, standing before her in quiet confidence, Jaren had proven himself in ways no alien male ever could. For the first time, Livra felt a flicker of anticipation. She wanted to see what this human would do next. She wanted to test him further, to challenge him, and perhaps unknowingly, to allow herself to be challenged as well. In the palace halls, Jaren worked late into the night, unaware of the profound impact he had on the princess. For him, it was another problem to solve, another system to improve. But for Livra, it was the beginning of a journey that would change her understanding of strength, courage, and the value of intelligence. The kingdom of Zithera had seen many visitors, many suitors, and many challenges. But none had arrived like Jaren, a human whose mind was sharper than any alien engineer, whose courage surpassed any warrior, and whose presence began to awaken a new respect and curiosity in the princess. And so the stage was set. Human ingenuity had entered the palace, challenging traditions, impressing a princess, and hinting at a future where the unexpected could become extraordinary. Livra, who had rejected all males, now found herself watching him with eyes wide open, wondering what this human might achieve next. The sun rose over Zithera, painting the crystal city in soft gold and violet hues. Princess Livra moved through the palace corridors with her usual grace, but her mind was unusually preoccupied. Ever since Jaren had arrived, her days had been filled with curiosity and unease. Curiosity because he was unlike any male or even alien she had ever encountered. Unease because he was beginning to challenge her in ways she hadn't expected. Jaren, meanwhile, was already in the engineering wing, examining a section of the palace that controlled climate and atmospheric flow. Unlike previous engineers, he worked alone, relying on his observations and logic rather than manuals or assistance. His human perspective allowed him to see patterns that the alien engineers had ignored, and he moved quickly, making small adjustments that yielded impressive results. Livra watched from a distance. She was fascinated not only by what he was doing but by how he approached problems. His confidence was quiet, not loud or boastful. His hands moved with precision, yet he seemed to think 3 steps ahead, anticipating issues before they arose. "You seem to be everywhere," Jaren said suddenly, looking up with a small smile. "Do you always follow engineers around?" Livra blinked, caught off guard. I observe," she said. "It is my duty to understand what happens in my palace." Jaren chuckled softly. "Observation is useful, but sometimes it helps to step back and see the bigger picture. Too much observation can cloud judgment." Livra felt a spark of irritation, and something else she didn't fully understand. No one had ever spoken to her this way. Alien males either flattered her or obeyed her without question. Jaren treated her like a peer, challenging her ideas in subtle ways, forcing her to think and reconsider. Later that day, the palace council summoned Livra. A problem had arisen in the outer districts of the city. A sudden surge in the atmospheric currents was threatening the delicate energy grids that powered the lower districts. The council's engineers were baffled. They had never encountered such a fluctuation. Livra's eyes turned to Jaren. "Can you help?" she asked. "I can," he said calmly. "But I need access to the monitoring stations throughout the city, and I will need to work quickly." The council murmured nervously. A human handling critical systems directly was unheard of, but Livra's decision was firm. "Allow him full access," she commanded. "He has proven himself capable." Jaren moved through the city with precise efficiency. His human engineering knowledge allowed him to identify the cause of the surge, a previously unnoticed interaction between 2 energy channels. He quickly proposed a solution: reroute the channels temporarily, stabilize the flow, and prevent overloads in the lower districts. As he worked, Livra followed him, not interfering, but observing. She could see the admiration and trust growing among the city engineers, who began to follow his instructions without hesitation. Even the council, usually skeptical of outsiders, watched in astonishment. By evening, the surge had been controlled, and the city's energy grid stabilized. Livra felt a mixture of pride and curiosity. She had expected other humans, or aliens, to fail, but Jaren had succeeded. Again. "Why do you always succeed?" she asked quietly, as they walked back to the palace together. Jaren shrugged, his eyes bright with sincerity. "I don't always succeed. I just keep looking for solutions until I find one that works." Livra's pride made her bristle slightly. "Many have tried and failed. Yet you, a human, manage it effortlessly." "How?" Jaren smiled faintly. "I don't think of it as effortless. I think of it as using what you have. You do the same. You see patterns others miss and you act on them. You just don't give yourself credit." Her multiple eyes widened slightly. No one had ever said that to her. Most people either flattered her or ignored her abilities. Jaren's words were simple, yet they cut deeper than any insult or praise. They challenged her pride and made her reflect on her own limitations. The following days brought more opportunities to test her patience and pride. Jaren suggested improvements to palace defense systems, even pointing out where her strategic plans could be more efficient. Livra resisted at first, unwilling to admit that a human could see what she had overlooked. But over time, she realized that his suggestions were always correct. One evening, as they stood overlooking the glowing city from the palace balcony, Livra finally spoke. You make me feel uneasy," she admitted. "I do not like being challenged. I do not like feeling that I might be wrong." Jaren's expression was calm. "Feeling uneasy is not bad. It means you are learning, growing, and thinking. Even leaders can improve, even princesses." Livra's eyes flickered with something she had not felt in a long time, respect mixed with an unfamiliar tension. She wanted to dismiss him, to tell him that his human ways were irrelevant, but she couldn't. His logic was undeniable, and his courage had earned her trust. The next test came unexpectedly. A dangerous wildlife species native to Zithera, known for its massive size and unpredictable behavior, had wandered too close to the city outskirts. Its energy signature interfered with the palace shields, and panic spread among the citizens. The council debated options, but no one had a clear solution. Livra turned to Jaren. "Can you handle it?" she asked. "I will try," he said, "but I need your trust." She hesitated, then nodded. "You have it." Together, they devised a plan. Jaren suggested using a combination of energy frequencies and sound waves to guide the creature away from the city without harming it. Livra implemented his plan, trusting his calculations completely. The creature responded precisely as Jaren predicted, moving away from the city under the influence of the energy guidance. The crisis was averted and the citizens cheered. Livra felt a strange thrill. She had always been capable, but this time, she had learned to trust someone else's ingenuity. Later that night, Livra found herself alone in the garden, thinking about the events of the day. She had always been proud of her independence and her ability to reject suitors, yet for the first time, she wondered what it would be like to rely on someone else, to allow herself to be challenged, and perhaps even guided. Jaren approached quietly, noticing her thoughtful expression. "You seem deep in thought," he said. Livra looked at him, unsure if she should reveal her feelings. "I am reconsidering what I thought I knew," she admitted. "I thought humans were weak, unworthy, yet you prove me wrong every day." Jaren smiled. "Humans have strengths you might not expect, but so do you. You have intelligence, courage, and curiosity. You just hide it behind pride." Livra felt a warmth in her chest. His words were not flattery, they were truth, clear and undeniable. She realized that her pride had protected her, yes, but it had also kept her from seeing value where it truly existed. I will admit something," she said quietly. "I have never met anyone who challenges me like you do. You make me think in ways I have never thought before." Jaren's expression softened. "That is the best anyone can hope for, to learn, to grow, to challenge each other. Even leaders must do it." For the first time, Livra felt a sense of vulnerability. Not weakness, but a recognition that she could trust someone outside her species, someone who saw her for her mind and not her appearance or title. The following week brought another challenge. A group of alien males who had previously sought Livra's favor returned, bringing gifts and promises, hoping to win her attention once more. They assumed that her curiosity about the human would fade, that she would dismiss him as an outsider. Livra watched them carefully, her mind analyzing their motives. She could have rejected them outright, as she always did. But now she felt a different sense of confidence. She had seen what true skill, intelligence, and courage looked like. She had seen it in Jaren. When the suitors approached, Livra spoke with a calm authority. "I have no interest in your gifts or promises. My attention is given only to those whose minds are worthy." The aliens looked shocked, muttering among themselves. None could comprehend the shift in her perspective. She had always been proud, but now her pride was informed by wisdom, experience, and the recognition of true talent. Jaren, standing nearby, observed quietly. He did not seek attention or reward, yet his presence had fundamentally changed the way Livra saw the world. She began to see not just the limitations of her suitors, but the potential of someone who could challenge her mind, earn her respect, and perhaps one day win her trust. As night fell, the palace glowed under the twin moons of Zithera. Livra stood on her balcony, looking out at the city she ruled. She felt a sense of anticipation she had never known. The human had arrived, challenged her, and taught her a lesson she could not have learned from any alien male. And so, the next chapter of their journey began. Jaren had not only proven his skill and courage, but had also begun to test the princess in ways that no one else could. Livra, who had rejected all males, now found herself facing a new kind of challenge, one that required humility, trust, and perhaps the willingness to admit that even a princess could learn from a human. The crystal city of Zithera shimmered in the soft light of the morning sun. The twin moons that had risen the previous night were now replaced by the alien sun's golden glow, casting patterns of color across the palace walls. Princess Livra moved through the halls, her thoughts restless. Her mind was preoccupied not with politics or courtly duties, but with the human, Jaren. Jaren had become a constant presence in the palace, not just as an engineer, but as a problem solver, a teacher, and strangely a companion who challenged her in ways she had never experienced. Every day he demonstrated his human ingenuity, solving problems that had baffled her alien advisors for years. Livra, who had always prided herself on independence and pride, now found herself questioning her own judgments. Could she really handle everything on her own? Was it possible that someone from another species could possess qualities far beyond any she had encountered? That morning, a message arrived from the outer regions of Zithera. A natural energy storm was forming in the upper atmosphere, threatening the city's energy shields. If the storm reached the palace, it could disrupt the city's defenses, damage infrastructure, and create panic among the citizens. The council gathered immediately, each member anxious and unsure of what to do. Livra, however, turned to Jaren. "Can you handle this?" she asked. Jaren studied the data carefully. The storm was unlike any phenomenon Zitherans had previously recorded. Its energy fluctuations were irregular, its intensity unpredictable, but Jaren remained calm. "Yes," he said, "but I will need access to every monitoring system in the city. We need to act fast." The council hesitated. No human had ever been allowed such control, but Livra's decision was firm. He has proven himself. Allow him full access. Jaren began his work immediately. He analyzed the storm's patterns, rerouted energy flows, and adjusted shield frequencies. Livra watched, standing close to the main console, her eyes following every move. She noticed how his mind worked, logical, precise, and yet flexible enough to adapt when the storm changed unexpectedly. Hours passed. The storm intensified, striking the outer energy shields with unpredictable force. Yet Jaren remained focused, adjusting, recalculating, and directing the city's defenses with calm determination. Livra's heart raced. She had never relied on anyone like this before. Her pride urged her to take control, to prove she could manage without him. But her mind knew that only Jaren had the knowledge and skill to handle this crisis. For the first time, she felt the weight of dependence, not weakness but responsibility. Finally, the storm began to subside. The shields held, the city remained intact, and the citizens were safe. The council erupted in astonishment, praising Jaren for his ingenuity and courage. Livra exhaled deeply, her multiple eyes reflecting relief and admiration. "You saved the city," she said quietly, approaching him. I did not realize how much I needed your help until now." Jaren looked at her, his calm demeanor unwavering. "It's not about needing me," he said. "It's about using the knowledge and skills available to protect what matters. You have the wisdom to recognize that." Livra felt a strange warmth at his words. She had always believed that relying on others was a sign of weakness. Now she realized that true strength sometimes required trust, humility, and the ability to admit that someone else could offer what she could not. The next day, Livra summoned Jaren to a private audience in her study. The room was filled with glowing crystals, casting a soft light over the walls. The palace was quiet, allowing them to speak freely. "You challenge me," Livra began, her voice steady but thoughtful. "Not with force, not with gifts, not with words of flattery. You challenge me with your mind, and I do not know how to respond." Jaren listened carefully. "Challenging is not about winning or losing," he said. "It's about learning, understanding, and growing. You have been strong and independent all your life. Now you are discovering that strength can also come from collaboration." Livra's pride stirred uneasily. She did not like feeling vulnerable, yet she could not deny the truth in his words. For years she had rejected suitors because they offered nothing meaningful. But Jaren offered something far more valuable: knowledge, courage, and perspective. A few days later, a diplomatic delegation arrived from a distant star system. Their leader, an alien known for cunning and strategic skill, sought an alliance with Zithara. The council prepared for the meeting, anxious to negotiate terms. Lyvra, however, had a different plan. She wanted Jaren to be present. "Why involve him?" the council asked. "He is human. He cannot understand alien diplomacy." "Perhaps he sees things we cannot," Lyvra replied firmly. "His perspective is different, and that is exactly what we need." The delegation entered the palace hall, confident and composed. The leader greeted Lyvra with formal respect, but ignored Jaren entirely, assuming he was an insignificant observer. Jaren, however, quietly studied the delegation, noting subtle inconsistencies in their statements and behavior. During the negotiations, the delegation proposed terms that appeared favorable but hid risks that could compromise Zithara's security. The council debated, unsure of how to respond. Lyvra glanced at Jaren, who met her gaze calmly and shook his head slightly. "Trust your judgment," he whispered. Lyvra realized he was right. Using the insights he had given her, she corrected the delegation's proposals, pointing out hidden flaws and potential risks. The delegation was surprised by her precision and confidence. They adjusted their approach, eventually agreeing to terms that were fair and safe for Zithara. After the delegation left, Lyvra turned to Jaren. "You guided me without speaking," she said softly. I had to trust your judgment. I had to admit that you know things I do not. That is difficult for me." Jaren smiled gently. "It is not weakness to rely on knowledge or insight that complements your own. Strength is knowing when to act alone and when to accept help." Lyvra's pride began to soften. For the first time, she realized that being independent did not mean rejecting others outright. True leadership required recognizing talent, valuing different perspectives, and sometimes asking for help. That evening, the princess invited Jaren to walk with her through the palace gardens. The twin moons glowed softly, reflecting off the crystalline trees. Lyvra's mind was full of questions she had never dared to ask before. "You have changed my perspective," she said quietly. "I have always rejected those who could not match my expectations. But you meet them in ways I did not anticipate. You have shown me strength I did not see before." Jaren listened attentively. "I am not extraordinary. I simply do what I can with what I have. You, princess, have the wisdom to recognize value where others overlook it. That is extraordinary." Lyvra felt a surge of respect and something deeper: admiration and a growing trust. She realized that she could not rely on pride alone. She needed allies, and perhaps she could allow herself to rely on someone she had never considered before, a human who had earned her respect and admiration. A few days later, a minor structural failure occurred in the palace's energy conduits. Lyvra assessed the situation and knew immediately that Jaren's skills were needed. She approached him directly. "Jaren," she said, her voice calm but firm, "I need your help with the conduits. I cannot solve this alone." Jaren raised an eyebrow, surprised by her admission. For the first time, the princess was asking for his guidance, not as a ruler commanding an outsider, but as someone acknowledging her need for his skill. "I will help," he said simply, "but I need your trust." Lyvra nodded. "You have it." Together they worked through the night, analyzing data, rerouting energy flows, and repairing the conduits. Lyvra observed every step, learning, listening, and trusting his judgment. She realized that this act of collaboration was not weakness. It was a recognition of true strength. By morning, the conduits were fully operational, more efficient than ever before. The palace was safe, and the city could continue its daily life without disruption. Lyvra felt a strange satisfaction, not only because the problem was solved, but because she had taken a step she had never taken before, asking for help, acknowledging another's skill, and trusting someone outside her species. Standing in the garden, watching Jaren inspect the repaired conduits, Livra felt her heart and mind align in a new way. She had learned that pride and independence were valuable, but collaboration and trust could achieve far greater results. For the first time, she truly understood the meaning of strength, respect, and admiration. And for the first time, she allowed herself to see Jaren not just as an outsider, but as a partner in both thought and action. The stage was now set. The princess who had rejected all males had begun to trust a human, not because he demanded it, but because he had earned it through skill, courage, and ingenuity. And in that trust, a new chapter was about to begin, one where her pride would soften, her curiosity would deepen, and her admiration for human intelligence would grow into something even more profound. The twin suns of Zithara rose over the crystal city, casting long beams of light that reflected across the palace spires. Princess Livra walked through the gardens, her multiple eyes following the sparkling streams and crystalline trees. The Four city was calm, its energy system stable, and yet her mind was alive with thoughts of Jaren, the human who had changed everything. For weeks he had proven himself indispensable, not through titles or wealth, but through intelligence, courage, and ingenuity. He had saved the palace from storms, stabilized critical systems, and even guided her during delicate diplomatic negotiations. Yet it was not only his skill that impressed her. It was his calm confidence, his honesty, and the way he treated her, as an equal rather than a figure to be served or admired. Livra paused, watching him in the distance as he examined the energy conduits in the gardens. He moved with focused efficiency, adjusting and testing small components, never once seeking attention. And yet, he had earned her admiration, respect, and a trust she had never given to anyone before. A message arrived from the council. An emergency meeting was called. A neighboring star system had detected a threat, a rogue fleet moving unpredictably near Zithara's borders. Panic stirred among the council members. They debated endlessly, proposing complex strategies, but none seemed feasible. Livra turned to Jaren. "We will need your help," she said firmly. "Can you guide us through this?" He studied the data calmly. "Yes," he said, "but I need full access to your monitoring systems, and I will need to work closely with you." The council exchanged uneasy glances. A human guiding Zithara's defenses was unprecedented. Livra's decision, however, was final. "He has earned our trust," she said. "Allow him full access, and I will oversee this operation personally." Jaren began analyzing the fleet's movements. He identified weaknesses in their formation and proposed strategies to stabilize Zithara's borders without engaging in unnecessary conflict. Livra watched closely, noting how he thought through every possibility, anticipating problems and offering practical solutions. As they worked together, Livra realized something profound. She was no longer relying solely on her own skill and pride. She was trusting another being entirely, acknowledging his expertise and allowing him to guide actions that affected the safety of the entire kingdom. Hours passed. The rogue fleet moved closer, but under Jaren's guidance and Livra's command, Zithara's defenses were prepared. Energy shields were rerouted efficiently, early warning systems were strengthened, and the city's fleet was positioned strategically. The crisis, once terrifying, was now manageable. When the threat finally passed, the council erupted in astonishment and gratitude. Livra turned to Jaren, her expression thoughtful. "You have done what no one else could. Not through force, not through titles, but through intelligence, strategy, and calm judgment." Jaren shook his head modestly. "I only used what I know. You made the right decisions to follow through. That is what made it work." Livra smiled, a mix of pride and admiration in her eyes. "You have proven something I did not believe possible, that humans can possess qualities far beyond what any alien male has shown me." Over the following days, Livra's attitude continued to change. She began consulting Jaren on important decisions not as a ruler commanding an outsider, but as a partner seeking insight. She valued his perspective and relied on his ingenuity. For the first time, she felt the thrill of collaboration, the excitement of working with someone who could match her mind and even expand it. One evening, the palace was quiet. Livra invited Jaren to the private study where they had spent many hours analyzing systems and solving problems together. She took a deep breath. "Jaren," she began, her voice calm but sincere. "I have always prided myself on independence and rejecting those who could not meet my expectations. But you have met them in ways I never imagined. You have challenged me, guided me, and shown me the value of trust and collaboration." Jaren looked at her, his expression attentive. "That is the highest compliment a human could hope," for he said softly. Livra hesitated, then continued. "I need your guidance, not because I cannot handle things alone, but because your perspective is invaluable. I cannot make some decisions without you." For the first time, she was openly asking for help, admitting reliance not out of weakness but out of respect. This was the moment she had never experienced with any other suitor. She had never begged, never admitted that someone's skill and wisdom were essential to her own success. Jaren's expression softened. "You honor me, Princess," he said. "I will always do my best to assist you, and together we will ensure Zithara thrives." The princess felt a warmth in her chest, a mixture of relief, trust, and admiration. She realized that this human was more than an outsider or a helper. He was her partner in thought, action, and leadership. In the following weeks, their collaboration became legendary within the palace. Citizens and council members alike marveled at how the princess, once known for rejecting all males, now relied on a human to guide and protect the kingdom. Jaren's ingenuity, combined with Livra's leadership, had transformed Zithara into a stronger, more resilient world. One day, Livra invited Jaren to walk through the palace gardens. The sunlight glinted off the crystalline trees, and the twin moons could still be faintly seen in the sky. "Jaren," she said, her voice calm and thoughtful, "I have learned something important from you. Strength is not only about independence. True strength is knowing when to act alone and when to trust others. You have taught me that," Jaren smiled. "And you have taught me that leadership requires wisdom, courage, and the willingness to see value in others. Together, we complement each other." Livra's eyes sparkled. "I want you to remain by my side, not as a visitor, not as an outsider, but as my partner. I trust you, respect you, and value your judgment above all others." Jaren's expression softened, a quiet sense of pride and gratitude shining in his eyes. "I will stand by your side, Princess, as your partner, as your ally, and as your friend." The palace witnessed a historic moment. The princess, once proud and rejecting of all suitors, openly acknowledged a human as her trusted partner. It was not an act of submission, but a recognition of worth, intelligence, and mutual respect. Zithara had never seen a union like this, one built on admiration, trust, and equality. The citizens marveled at the partnership. For the first time, a human had earned the respect and trust of an alien princess, not through gifts, appearances, or status, but through courage, ingenuity, and unwavering honesty. In the days that followed, Livra and Jaren worked together seamlessly. They implemented improvements in energy systems, city defenses, and diplomatic strategies. Zithara flourished under their combined guidance. The princess's pride remained, but it was now tempered with wisdom and openness, allowing her to appreciate the extraordinary abilities of those around her, especially Jaren. One evening, as they walked through the palace gardens, the twin moons casting a soft glow over the crystalline landscape, Livra smiled at Jaren. "I never believed I could respect and rely on someone from another species. But you have shown me that strength and value are not measured by origin, appearance, or status. They are measured by courage, intelligence, and integrity." Jaren looked at her, his expression calm and sincere. And you have shown me that leadership is not about power alone. It is about wisdom, humility, and the courage to trust those who are capable." Livra's smile widened. "Then let us continue together, leading, learning, and protecting Zithra as equals." Jaren nodded. Together. And so, the story reached its natural conclusion. The princess who had once rejected all males had found a partner who matched her mind, challenged her pride, and earned her trust. The human who had entered the palace as an outsider had demonstrated that courage, intelligence, and ingenuity could transcend species, appearances, and expectations. Zithra had changed, forever. The princess had changed forever, and the human had proven that true strength was not only in action but in character, a lesson that would echo across the crystal spires, the glowing cities, and the twin moons for generations to come. The partnership of Livra and Jaren became legendary, a story of respect, admiration, and collaboration that inspired the kingdom. And in the quiet moments walking through the shimmering gardens or studying the glowing energy systems, they knew that together, they could face any challenge, solve any problem, and achieve greatness beyond imagination. In the end, it was not beauty, wealth, or status that mattered. It was courage, intelligence, and the willingness to see value where others overlooked it. And in that truth, Princess Livra and Jaren had found not only success but mutual respect, trust, and a partnership that would endure for the rest of their lives.